Afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to our Educator information session, Cyber at School, keeping safe and secure online. So we're introducing a brand new first concept storybook, and it's raising awareness, or the concept is cyber security for younger children. We know that that's really important today. We're learning how to stay secure online, just as we're learning how to physically secure our possessions and our belongings. In our environments, our classrooms, our nurseries, and in our homes. And Cyber helps us do that. It's packed full of clear explanations, colourful illustrations, and lots of opportunities or invitations to explore and play and learn together. But just before we delve into a bit more about Cyber, I thought I'd give you a little bit of background as to why we have Cyber. So you may remember the last few years we've had the bongles and the crafty crows. Right? That's been our main resource for cyber security for early level. That's been our national resource for the last few years. A copy of the bongles and the crafty crows was included in a couple of the bookbird bags, the Penry One bags. Team here at DigiLearn Scott supported the delivery through read-alongs and educator webinars. We've delivered over 100 now in Gaelic, and also sessions for children with additional support needs, who we worked with Call Scotland, who hosted sessions using the symbolised resources, so really nice visual sessions. However, some of the feedback that we received, and it was mixed feedback from families and practitioners, teachers as well, was about it being, the story being a little bit hard for children to transfer the sort of understanding about the passcodes and passwords in the bongles story to devices in real life. So they found it a bit abstract and a bit hard to transfer that knowledge over. So with that in mind, the Cyber Resilience Unit at Scottish Government asked for our help again. They asked if we could help them to create a specification or a brief for a new book to be authored. So based on all that feedback, these are the sort of key points that we thought was really important. Okay, so this option to be able to write a storybook or a first concept book went out nationally, and these are the categories that we really wanted the authors, the illustrators, the production companies, whoever was coming forward, to be able to meet. We also, had constraints, or we also had sort of must-haves, I should say, that's a better word, must-haves around accessibility requirements. The photos or the illustrations used, had to be high quality. We wanted to reflect boys, girls, the age group of the children that were going to be reading this, a variety of disabilities or abilities, a variety of ethnic backgrounds. We wanted it to do quite a lot. And the company that came forward, or the company that was a successful bidder and was awarded with the project, was Story Learning, who are an Edinburgh-based company. The name might be familiar to you because, of course, they were the authors of the and the illustrators of the bongles and the crafty crows as well. Now, when you get your hands on a copy of Cyber, Keeping Safe and Secure Online, you will notice, if you pay attention, you'll notice there's a wee nod to the bongles in there. So look out for that. So the book itself, bright, it's friendly, it introduces children to this importance of securing devices, but it's not putting that pressure on the children to do that. It's showing where it happens in a sort of everyday routine at school, where the adults are using security mechanisms. So from the get-go, from opening the school gate, the janitor is using a key to open a padlock. And later on, you've got the classroom teacher using a security pass to open the door. And then there's a few different other scenarios where members of staff, teachers, head teachers, are unlocking devices to gain access. So, for example, they're unlocking the laptop connected to the smart board to choose or the pre-meeting panel, whatever panel it is, to choose the lunch menu. They're unlocking the iPad with a passcode so that the children can play a maths game on it, or take a photo or something like that. But it's shown sort of everyday situations where that happens. And why is this important? Well, we know that it's already part of our curriculum. It's part of the current curriculum, and it's going to be part of our refreshed framework as well. But what is it all about? So these are the definitions here on the screen. So cybersecurity is about locking and securing our devices. But that sits underneath the umbrella of cyber resilience. So there's a bigger picture here, and that's about being able to prepare for, recognise and recover cyber threats, okay, deliberate attacks or accidental events in our online world. Now, for a wee 4-year-old, someone that's just come into primary one, that's quite a difficult concept, isn't it? That's quite abstract. So we focus here at early level on the cybersecurity part, because that's something we can see and it's something that we can touch, so we can make it much, much more concrete. As well as in our curriculum, we've got national guidance from the Scottish Government. You may be aware of the Play Vision Statement and Action Plan, which also really highlights the importance of cyber resilience. And that really comes under our role of, supporting children to be safe. What this book is not about, like the bongles, it's not about internet safety. That's much more about your behaviour, okay, about, being smart and kind when you're online. It's more about your ability to ask for help. So if you see something, that you're not too sure about, or something that frightens you, you've got to go to, a trusted adult for help. It's more about consent. So if you're using a device to take a photo, you're having a photograph taken of yourself, or you're going to share a photograph, it's that importance of asking for consent or declining consent. So we won't see things like that in this story, because this story is purely about cyber security. So in our current curriculum, this is what our E's and O's are looking like at early and first level. And if we go to the benchmarks, that tells us it's about passwords and passcodes. In a new updated framework, doesn't change hugely, but it's much, much more clear. There's a lot more clarity. So for those of you that aren't aware of what our updated framework is going to look like, I'm going to show you a little sneak peek. It's just a little draft because it might change. This is very much subject to change for the next few months. But currently, where we're at in the technologies team with the early level framework around cybersecurity, we have this. So we've got our understanding statement at the top. Devices can be protected and secured. But in order for children to get that understanding, what do they need to know? And what might they do? What might they do to, really concrete that understanding? So I'm sure you will agree it's much clearer than the previous E's and O's. So for a start, what does security mean? And what might we do? So what might we look at? What might we see? What might we touch? So I'll just let you have a read at that. Along with these statements, there's also going to be elaborations, like guidance notes, practitioner guidance notes, that will then, go in much deeper with lots of different examples of how you might provide those experiences. So we've got things like help me identify where we see and use security mechanisms by looking for keys, padlocks, number combination locks, security passes, bike locks, and make sense of this by practicing locking and securing items using padlocks and number combinations. Guide me to notice where passwords and passcodes are in the setting, the local environment, or at home. Let's go out on a cyber security hunt with binoculars. Turn off devices and put them away in an agreed safe, secure space when they're not in use. And there's a few more bullet points there that I've put in the notes that you can have a little look at. But I'm sure you will agree that it's much, much clearer than our previous experiences and outcomes. And the story aligns with it really well. So at early level, we really need to help children to understand and become aware through visual or concrete explorations. Because cybersecurity is an abstract concept, isn't it? And if you have a wee look at this lovely slide here, you can see really clearly from the picture what this page might be all about. Part of the design brief as well was that whoever was the successful bidder, and in this case it happened to be Slowly Learning, but part of the ask was that they spend some time in school, in primary school, particularly in a primary 1 class at the start of term, because we wanted this book to be really relatable and familiar for the primary 1 children that it's going to land with in August. As well as the story, there's also, as I mentioned, opportunities for sort of activity or invitations to learn. So there'll be pages that can be cut out, but they'll also be online. There'll be PDFs that you can download, sort of single sheets. So for example, we've got here a little password generator, a little visual spinner that can be used. And part of the story includes the promotion of 3 random word passwords. So you might have saw that in the bongos if you had a copy of the bongos or had read the bongos before. And we're still using the 3 random word passwords as being the most secure, because that's our national advice from the National Cyber Security Centre. And the bit that you've probably all joined, the bit that you're here for, in August, as a gift from the Scottish Government, all primary 1 children in Scotland are going to receive their very own copy of this book. The boxes are going to start being sent out the very first week of term, when you're back after the summer, to all primary 1s. Depending on what school you're in, you might have a box of Gaelic books, you might have a box of English books. That will just depend on where you are. Inside the box, there will also be a template later that you can send out to your families, just explaining a wee bit more about, why this book has been published, who it's for, what it aims to do. And there's also some information there, or some suggestions about gifting events if you wanted to do, make it a wee bit more special when you're giving it out. A wee bit like what you do with BookBug. But this book won't be going in the BookBug bags. This has been sent out independently this time. Accessing online copies. So when we do have the green light to have it published, which we're hoping will be really soon, any day now, it's going to go on the Parent Club Scotland site. Now, this link is already live. The Bongos and the Crafty Crows story's already there, with different sort of various little video clips that go along with it. And Cyber's going to sit there as well, because it's doing, both stories have the same aim. Although the Bongos maybe didn't quite support all children to make that link, we're still using the story, it's still there. Maybe you're sort of end of early level into first level children, might prefer that to this one. It all depends. What else do we have? Webinars as well. So there's going to be over 30 sessions running from September. So each term there will be an information given webinar like this one, but there will also be read-alongs for the children. So there'll be morning and afternoon options. And we're really, really lucky to be working with Linda MacLeod again, who is our children's television presenter, who will do the sessions for our GME children. And we also have Joanna Courtney, a specialised speech and language therapist from Call Scotland, who is going to come on and host the sessions for children with ASN. So they're the very visual sessions using the symbolised resources. And you may have come across them before. So if you use the BookBug bags, and you've gone onto the Call Scotland website to access the coinciding symbols, they're going to create the cyber symbols for us to use as well. And sometimes you might just use the visuals on their own, but if you do have children that are using assistive and communicative technology, you might then download, depending on what format it is, if you're using a Big Mac, or it might be a PowerPoint where you're reading aloud, you might be using the sounding board app, there'll be something there, there's options there for everyone. And you can access the webinar calendar on DigiLearn Scott. We're really busy working behind the scenes, getting all those dates populated. Just got to get a few final touches, and then those dates will all be live as well. Now, when I spoke about the updated curriculum framework there, we spoke about elaborations. So part of that will include links to resources, so resources such as the Cyber storybook, or there might be wee video clips like this. So for example, to help an early level learner generate a 3 random word password, that can be tricky, they're maybe not reading yet. So what else can we do? We can use feely bags, we can use visuals. So for example, blank dice with some little stickers on them. And then they can tell you what is on their dice. So that was rainbow grapes, rainbow rocket. And then the fun part, you can help them then to type those words into this site, the How Secure Is My Password site. Now this is really fun, and it can be milliseconds to billions and trillions of years before your password could be breached or your password could be hacked. So it's a really nice challenge, and it's also a really interesting one to do with your parents and carers at information evenings as well. Now, sometimes people will say, oh, who owns this website? Do I really want to put my password in there? I don't own it. So my advice would be you could put in, something similar or a practice password, but you might not want to put your very own password in. And let me just check how long did that say that would take? Now, I've done that already. Let me do it right now and I'll tell you. So what did I say my password was? It was grapes, rocket, rainbow was my practice password. And it's saying here it would take a computer about 600 million years to crack that password. Let's see, say I put in just grapes, your password would be cracked instantly. So it's a nice fun wee activity to do. Now, we did say that this book isn't about internet safety, neither was the bongles, but we do have loads of other resources that are about internet safety. And if that's something that you need a wee bit of help with, I've popped the link for a previous webinar recording in here, so the video's there, and in the notes the link to the slides are also there as well. So if you would rather just skip right through, you can get to the resource you're looking for. So there is a lot out there. We've narrowed it down to just a couple of sort of trusted resources from big organisations that we work alongside. So people like CEOP and ChildNet. Okay, so I'll leave that for now. So that's really it. That's just our quick sort of whistle-stop tour of Cyber at School. So a little bit about the book itself and a bit about why we're doing it, and then just a little bit about where you can access it and then all the support and resources that come with it. So I'm going to just stop the recording now and I'll see if anybody has any questions.